Alright, here's my next project. I haven't fired this thing up probably in 20 years. It's a Craftsman, but I believe it's made by Pullman or Pullon. So in the videos I've watched, they said the fuel lines could be cracked and stuff like that, and this primer bulb used to be red, and oh yeah, it's all cracked up. One of the problems I was having with this, whenever I leave it in here, and I did clean it out earlier, you can kind of see just a little bit of the bar oil on the bottom, but it leaks all the bar oil out all the time. So there's something on this side in one of the videos is like a metal bracket, and someone said that might not be seated properly. So let's take this apart and see if we can get this thing running again. I'd say that's pretty dirty. It needs gummed out, cleaned out. Yeah, in the video they were saying if this piece of metal wasn't seated right, it could cause it to leak. But it could also be maybe all this crap I had in here was just, bleeding it out. So, alright, let's get this cleaned up. Memory serves me right. I think this was always leaking when I had it in there. I can't remember. So hopefully it's just all this stuff was wicking away the bar oil. So I cleaned it up a bit. It's about 80% clean, and in here too. I was thinking maybe I could just spray brake cleaner in here, but then I'm reading the brake cleaner label, and it says, cover up all plastic parts. So I used some carburetor cleaner because it didn't give me any of that warning, but I ran out of carburetor cleaner, so I'll get all that cleaned up in a little bit. So first step, I've got to take off this housing. Oh gosh, this thing is just crumbling in my hand. So the first step will be to look at this carburetor. I've been looking at kits online, and you can get like a whole carburetor and fuel line kit for around $15. So I just need to see if I can get like a model number or something off this carburetor so I can match it up with what I need. And I think I found the reason why it wouldn't start last time. Those hoses are just cracked and laying in the bottom. Crazy. So on the carburetor it says like Walbro 130 WT324. So before I take any more of this apart, I'm going to look online to see if I can't just get a kit with all of this. And then I need to look at this primer bulb too, because some of the primer bulbs online, they screwed in from the outside, but I don't see that. So it looks like I'm going to have to take this side piece off to get to the primer bulb. Okay, so it is a screw-in primer bulb, so that's helpful to know. So now it's going to be like a short time for you, or will be next weekend for me, because I'm going to try to source this carburetor kit. If anybody wants to know, this is the model number of this Craftsman chainsaw. Alrighty, so shortly for you, next weekend for me. So I got this kit online. It's like $14.99. Should include everything I need. Now, I'm probably not going to install this carburetor though. I mean, I will if I have to, because where is it? I believe this is where the fuel comes in, and on my old one where it dumps out is on this side actually. Yeah, is down here, so I'd have to do a little bit of modification to my fuel lines. I mean, this is closer to the port over there. Sorry if I was out of frame there, but I'm going to look at, in one of the videos, the guys, when he took this apart, he was looking at the, sorry, you can't see it. He was looking at the diaphragm down underneath here, which on this one is here, and if it wasn't pliable, he just replaced that. I do have a new little diaphragm kit for, it includes all the gaskets if I was totally rebuilding this carburetor, for like $6. So let me get to work. So you can see these are all the dried up little pieces of fuel line. Crazy. So I'm just going to try to push. Actually, it's just all coming out. Yeah. Push these old fuel lines in the tank. Yeah, that one just dropped free. And then I'll clean out the tank. So my one set of needle nose pliers was not long enough to reach all the way into the back to pull down the fuel line, so I had to pick up a cheap Harbor Freight set. I think with a 20% discount I got it for like $4.47. So now I'll just have a little bit longer pair of needle nose pliers if I run into this problem again. So I'm watching one of the other videos. The gentleman was checking the diaphragm underneath here. Said if they sit too long, sometimes they get a little brittle. So I'd like to try to use this existing carburetor that I have, because if I have to use the new one, I have to adjust, like, there's like a L and an H, high and low something, I don't know what they do, and I don't want to futz around with that. I'd rather just leave the original part in. So I'm going to try this first. If not, I'll have to put in the new one and then play around with it till I get it correct. Yeah, it's looks like I could probably put the new one in. Looks pretty clean in there. So in the other videos they said to help pull this in, cut the fuel line at an angle to help drive it in. Let's try that. So in one of the videos I saw, they put lubrication on here. So I'm going to just use some of the fuel mix stuff as lubrication to help get this fuel line down into the tank. So you can see I got it into the tank. Now I just got to pull it through. Putting that fuel mixture on here made that go very smoothly, pulling this through. I really didn't have any problems. Then we just pull this back into the tank. There we go. This is the smaller tube that goes from the primer bulb back into the tank. Though hindsight, I probably should have did this smaller tube first. I didn't realize how much higher it sits up in the tank. And I've got this filter in the way. So let me work on this. So I'm having a harder time feeding this through because it's up so high and I can't get the needle nose pliers up. So I've seen on some videos they use, looks like baling wire maybe, to hook onto this to pull it through. Don't have any baling wire, but this is just some copper wire from the house alarm left over. I'm going to try to use this to feed it up and then pull it out. Hopefully this will be strong enough to pull it through. So I thought I had this on tape, but I didn't. But I used the wire and just pulled it through, so that worked out fine. So on a side note, the one that says to carb is the shorter one, and the longer one goes back down to the tank. This generic one I got in the kit does not tell you where it goes. So the one that goes to the fuel tank, they said goes in the top part of the carb. And the one that comes from the primer bulb goes to the lower part. And I probably need to cut these a little bit shorter because I can tuck them in. Yeah, they're actually not in the way. Cool. So I'm going to move the lines just a little bit because when I give it gas, it's going underneath. Well, maybe if I just disconnect this line, that'll get these underneath. So let me work on that. So I got the larger tube moved. I'm just going to pull the smaller tube that goes into the tank down a little bit so the throttle lever rod, whatever it's called, doesn't keep hitting it all the time. So that's a little better, so it's not interfering now. The bearings over there. So I'm not going to sharpen the other chainsaw blade yet, but when I bought it, it came with two chains, so I'm going to put this one on it. Well, that took a little fiddling to get that back on. Okay, how's this thing go? All right. I think I just did this wrong because I was supposed to have this thing back. So I have this one. Okay. Hopefully I won't have the bar oil leak all over the inside of that case again. I think it's because I had all the grit on the other side and it was just like bleeding it out. I don't see any gas going in here. Stop recording. Well, I was trying to prime it, but nothing's getting sucked in here. I was following what was on the other one, saying which one goes to the carburetor and such, so I'm going to reverse the lines going to here. Maybe it's opposite on this primer bulb. If that's not the case, then I have a bad primer bulb, I guess. Because normally when you hit the primer bulb, you get gas inside of here. Alrighty, so I did a quick disassembly. I believe the primer bulb is functioning fine. I cleaned up, I sprayed more carburetor cleaner inside these two tubes here, the fuel lines on the carb. So let me put it back together and try it again. If not, I'll have to use the new one, although it is a little different, so hopefully I won't have to make too many modifications for it. But let me button this back up and then we'll try to start it up again. Okay, so I don't do small engine repairs at all. This is my first time. So maybe I needed to let the fuel filter soak a little bit and soak up some of the gas. So before I button all this up, you can see as I'm priming it, and this is probably just because it's the very first time. Hopefully you can see these. It's slowly pulling it up. So I'll do this just a couple more times and then I'll button it up. Alright, let's try take 2. So I guess the primer was working. So I've tried this numerous times off camera because it wasn't starting on the first try. I'm going to put the new carburetor in there. Maybe there is something gummed up in here that I just can't clean out. But when I disconnected it, gas was just shooting all over the place. So I had to plug it up and take it outside and just let it decompress there. Yeah, I guess the other carburetor wasn't allowing the fuel line to escape, or that's why it had a lot of pressure built up in there, because when I do it now you can see it all snaking through like it should. Still had a lot of air in the line, maybe because I don't have a lot of fuel in there because it all spilled out on me. We'll be giving it a shot here in just a minute. So I was trying to put it back together again, and the throttle said that this carburetor would fit. It does mount. It looks very similar, but on this one, the part that goes back, or goes to the primer bulb, they moved over to this side, and now it blocks the throttle. So I have to figure out how to bend this or rebuild this. So, oh gosh, it's going to take a little bit longer than I thought. Well, I did not have another thin piece of steel like this that I could bend to try to go around this discharge from the carburetor, so I worked on cleaning this one up a little bit, and now we can see we do have, it is flowing through it, so fingers crossed. Let's put this back together again and try to start it one more time. Alive! Finally! So I'm excited. I brought it back to life. I'm disappointed though. As you can see, it's still dripping oil. So I'm gonna take it apart and try to look at that thing. Maybe this thing just bleeds oil. I don't know. If any of the people watching this have an idea of why it still drips, let me know. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please like and subscribe.